All right, Tina, it's all on you.
Welcome to another episode of The Box, people. Today, we are delighted to have KJ, a friend that we met on Twitter. And today, we're going to discuss movies, music, and writing. So, KJ, if you want to just jump right in,
All
you want to
right.
talk about movies that you like, you dislike, movies that maybe impacted your personal life, or
Oh gosh.
And if you have seen the new Halloween, don't give away any spoilers because I
Yeah,
have not seen it
spoiler
yet.
alert.
I'm not. We could start there. I am not a scary movie watcher.
Not at all.
I really don't. I wouldn't even say that it's that I don't like. I really guess I don't like them. I wouldn't say that I would be afraid of them. I'm just not a fan. I don't think I have not seen any of the Friday the 13th. I haven't seen any of the Halloweens. I did watch the Blair Witch Project when that was a big deal and was that the 90s? I don't even know. It was a long time ago. And I watched it well before it came out, or well after it came out, I'm sorry. And I was like, honestly, what is the big deal about this? First of all, I thought I was going to throw up with the camera moving, right? And all it was like these people running through the woods screaming. I'm like, what are you screaming about? So yeah, so I'm not really a big fan. Fun little fact though, one of the Friday the 13th, that's Freddy Krueger, right?
No, Friday the 13th is Jason Voorhees.
Okay,
Nightmare on Elm Street is
Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger, one of the movies was actually filmed, a few of the scenes were filmed not far from where I live.
Really?
And every year on whenever the 13th rolls around on a Friday, the area actually has like a little Freddy Krueger celebration.
Even on the 13th, on Jason's day.
Yeah, and so and the actor who played Freddy sometimes has come up to the area and like has performed weddings and like all kinds of stuff around here. So there is that little bit, but yeah, so I'm not a big horror movie fan. Honestly, I could not tell you if you asked me what is my favorite movie. I don't have one.
What's your favorite genre?
I really like I like psychological thrillers. I do like the old school mob movies like The Godfather, Gangs of New York. I like those kinds of things because there's a lot of history and plus Italian, and I have mob roots in my family, so I'm kind of hooked into that.
KJ's gonna come after us, y'all.
Don't you? I'm like the calmest person you could ever possibly meet.
You really are.
Yeah. And then I like psychological thrillers. I like sci-fi. I like fantasy, but mostly I love everything about being in the movie theater. Like I truly just love going. I love the screen. I love the sound. I love all of the previews. Even though other people complain about it, I'm like, give me 30 minutes of previews. I'm good. I'm pissed if I see stuff. I'm like, what is this crap coming out? But otherwise, I love that. I love being. I remember when I was in high school, I went with my best friend Kelly and her now husband, then boyfriend, to see a 10 o'clock showing of the opening day of I'm gonna forget the movie. It was with it's aliens, Will Smith.
Men in Black.
No, not Men in Black.
Independence Day.
Independence Day, you're right.
That's it, Independence Day. I went to see it and the movie theater was sold out and people like were out of their minds. Like they were cheering and clapping and screaming and like it was just an electric environment and it just made me I just love the movies. Like, and so when I was able to go back to the theater after COVID, regulations lifted in this area, I think the first movie back that I went to see was actually The Lord of the Rings. They had re-released it and because of the anniversary, so I went to see The Fellowship of the Ring and then followed by the 30th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back. And I was like in my glory. And what was even better was it was almost like a private showing because nobody else wanted to go to the movie theater. So I'm like, well, I'm going to go. And I don't care if I'm by myself up in the top corner, like I have my seats and I have my thing and I am like the happiest when I get to go to a movie. And then talk about them, with other people who watch the movies. When I was in college and I came back to school after our winter break where we had about a month off, my roommates would all say, okay, Kristen, tell me what movies you saw and what should we go see? And I'd literally would give them a review of the 10 to 19 movies that I'd seen over that time. Yeah, like, and it would be I'd be all over the place. Like,
You consider yourself a movie buff.
yeah. Yeah, the AMC around here, I don't know if they're going to do it this year, but prior to COVID, they run a marathon of all the movies that have been nominated for the Emmys, right? Emmys. And it's literally 6+ hours of watching movies, depending upon how long the movies are.
Yep.
I am there. I sit with all of the other movie buffs and we just watch and talk, and like, it's a lot. I can't answer any trivia questions, but but I love everything about the movies. I would say, I don't know that you asked me if there was a movie that impacted me. I can't think of one of those. I will say I cried my eyes out the first time I saw Sophie's Choice. Oh my God. Like, I just was beside myself. And My Girl, I was like a sobbing
Oh
mess
yeah,
at
for
the end of
sure.
that movie. I know, Sonny, you're a big Robin Williams fan. I love
No, for
all of
sure.
his movies. I went to see The Birdcage with my mom on New Year's Day one time, and it was like a hilarious like event for us. Just
The other guy was Nathan Lane.
Nathan Lane, yeah. It was a funny movie. It's just a funny movie, and Hank Azaria is in it as well,
Oh, he's
and
fantastic.
he's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I really like him in America's Sweethearts. He plays this really kind of funky character. And the
yeah,
thing is, most actors would come off really annoying if they were in that role. And because it was him, he was able to come in and give the right amount of flair to it for comedy and just made it his own. And it was so funny. He's a
yeah.
wonderful actor, does not get enough credit.
It's true. It's true.
AJ, I had a question for you. What is a film that most people love that you felt was overhyped?
Besides the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
Gosh. Let me see.
Titanic.
I was just gonna say,
I would say that.
Yeah,
I would say that, the Titanic.
for sure.
I am not a fan. I think it's not overhyped now. It was when they came out. I'm a Star Wars fan. I am not a fan of the last 3 movies that came out.
Star Wars. No, I'm kidding.
I've not heard of this.
In a galaxy far, far away. Listen, I'm not one of the people who gets insulted when people have not watched Star Wars. I know people are like, what do you mean you've never watched it?
I know.
It's not for
You've been
everybody.
living under a rock. Yeah.
But I was not a fan of the last 3. I refuse to see them again. They are not part of my collection.
Right.
When I talk to my coworkers who are all Star Wars fans, they're like, what are you talking about? Why don't you like it? I'm like, seriously, do you have all day? Because I could give you all of these reasons. I said, it's just it. And it's interesting because after the final one came out, I feel like that's when all the commentary came out about how they just were overrated and were not good. And I'm like, that was what I've been saying all along. Like, so I would say that definitely Titanic.
That leads me to another question that you bring that up, because I believe a lot of original film should not be remade.
Right.
So my question is, what do you guys think? And each of you could answer this if you'd like. Is the worst remake ever made? I know Sonny's answer already.
Okay, go for it. Say it.
Rob Zombie's Halloween version.
Oh, absolutely horrendous. And the thing is, it's not like I've never said a bad word, because, well, I have. You guys have all met me. And so, but the thing is I think there's a time and a place for it. And in any of the Rob Zombie films, and I already know there's one friend who's going to see this and come at me with like,
come at me, bro.
Yeah, come at me, bro. You want to fight? And the thing is like every other word is a cuss word. And I don't like that. I feel like it takes away from what's going on. And the first couple scenes are kind of okay. You know, they actually have a couple really cool scenes with Michael Myers, and and they got this big, huge guy to play him. So it was very intimidating, very scary. But then it was the bad language. I couldn't.
But the thing about Michael Myers, he's scary enough. Like, you don't need to make him 7 feet tall.
You don't need him. Yeah. That man was practically on stilts. He was so tall.
Yeah.
Like it freaked me out. But yeah, definitely Tina is right. The remake of Halloween's. I do not have him on the 30th. I have some friends coming over. We're gonna watch the Halloween movies with the new one. And I made it very clear to one of my friends, we are not watching any of the Rob Zombie ones. We're not doing it. Like, it's not part, like, it's kind of like what you said, KJ. It's not part of my collection, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, KJ. So what are your thoughts on that?
I'm trying to think. I am someone who will not go see a remake of a movie that I liked. I feel like there are certain movies that were just, and this could go to televisions, television shows too. There are certain movies that are just magical from the time period they were made. And whether that was because of the writing or the cast or whatever was going on in the world at the time, they just fit. And to try to remake it with different actors or update it or put it in a different scene or scenario or year, as sometimes happens, I feel like it loses that magic. So I'm not a rebooter.
I just gotta say real quick, Robin Williams, and I'm not ripping if Will Smith is your favorite actor. I love Will Smith. But when I found out they were redoing Aladdin, I gotta tell you, I kind of felt like my heart fell, like, because you're taking this a comedy genius like Robin Williams, who was this guy was in his own dimension, man, like completely and totally fantastic. I still have not seen another comedian that comes even close to him. So when I found out they were going to redo Aladdin, and this was not too long after his death, I was like, to me, but it could be because I just loved Robin so much, but it literally felt like a slap in the face. Like, why would you do that? You know, it would be like remaking Mrs. Doubtfire. You
was just gonna say that. Yeah. You know, when they came out with the all-female version of Ghostbusters, I was like, at first I'm like, I don't think I can go do this, because I loved the original movie. I wasn't a fan of the sequels to the original movie, but I loved it. And when I saw, I was like, yeah, I don't know that I can go do this. And then my nephews, because I was in Maine over the summer when the movie came out, and my nephews were like, let's go see it. I'm like, well, I'm an auntie and I don't say no. So I'm like, all right, let's go.
In there.
So we went, and I don't think it was bad. Like, in terms of overall movies, I don't think it was bad, but I really didn't like it. I felt like it lost its appeal because they were trying too hard to be different, but yet similar. I'm like, this just does not work.
I feel like Chrissy has something to say about that, because Chrissy literally went.
I know, I saw. I'm like,
no, they still had the same type of characteristics as the original movie, and they could have just been totally different characters for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I want to cut this out.
No.
And yeah, so they should have just been themselves. Don't need to copy the original actors.
Right, I agree.
That would have been a lot better if they could have just found their own way of doing
because
things.
you can't replicate who the actors created in that original movie and why people liked them and liked the movies, and can go back and watch them. And I'm like, I still watch and I'm like hysterical, at all the same things. It's like, it doesn't get old, but yet that movie I will never watch again.
Really?
Going back to Will Smith, the thing with Karate Kid, no.
Right.
Just no. You, like, don't call it that. Like, you want to do the whole, sensei training the kid. Why is it got to be the Karate Kid remake? And I have nothing against. I love Jackie Chan.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Mr. Miyagi
one of
You
a
know-
kind. Yeah.
Right. There's no one else doing wax on, wax off like
No.
him. Yeah.
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 Well,
I
and
just
plus he
think,
had his own presence, I think. Like
yeah.
he was very much a man of his presence, where it's nothing against Jackie Chan, but I feel like Jackie Chan is almost more comedic. Well, where this guy, he comes in, you know, in the originals, and he was like, he's somebody I would have listened to right off the bat when he was talking to me, you know. And I think it's almost like you were just saying a little bit ago, KJ, is that a lot of it has to do with, you know, the cast that they have. And you just change up a couple characters and suddenly you have a whole different presence on screen, and it changes things.
Yeah.
It's just a
I
movie I could never watch again, like KJ said.
Yeah. I just think they shouldn't do it. You know, I just think unless you're going to make it original and going, that was a big part of the problem that I had with the last 3 Star Wars. Like, do you notice? I don't call them by their names, and I don't use the episode numbers because to me they don't exist. But
Just
that
those
was part of
3.
my problem, is I felt that they wanted to use the original recipe of A New Hope, Empire, and Jedi. And so they just kind of changed the characters and changed a little bit of the story. But essentially, if you watched them, you were watching those 3, you know, and I thought, no, you can't, that story has already been told. I
Right.
really did I liked Rogue One. And the reason why I liked it was because it was completely original. And other than being set in the world of Star Wars, those were new characters. They weren't Jedis. They weren't part of the Republic. They were just other people that were existing at this time, and they went on their own adventure. And I think as a result of that, it just was an original movie. And if, you know, so it was better in my eyes and part of my collection. You know, so I feel very strongly about that. And sometimes I think, why are we seeing all these reboots? Is it because there's nothing else out there that they think that people are going to watch?
Right.
I mean, between television and movies, it's like a repeated, let's bring this back again. Well, no, let's not, you know, unless you're going to do something totally different with it, then it's different to me.
Well, you
But
know, I think too, KJ, it's like you can't catch lightning in a bottle, right? So when you have these amazing moments with someone like Robin Williams or Will Smith or all these different actors that people really enjoy going to see, and then you remake it, you can't get that nostalgia back. It's something about that, like for us, I can remember when Tyler was little, we would put Mary Poppins on, and Tyler loved it. So we would make the popcorn, we would do all the stuff, and there was something about it. Now, when I found out they were remaking it and it was coming out differently, I was like, I have no interest. I don't want to go see anything that has to do with it. Because for me, I knew that this is going to be the only thing for me. Like this is it, you know. I did, however, watch when Tom Hanks did the Saving Mr. Banks. And it was about how the story of Mary Poppins came to be. I did watch that and I found that extremely fascinating.
Yeah.
But other than that, but I did have a question for everyone. Name a movie that when you were in the theater, like the energy in the theater from everybody else hyped up that movie even more when you were in there.
I got 2 of them.
I got 2 of them.
One of them was a Halloween
H2O.
H2O. Ridiculous energy. But even more so, the last Harry Potter I went to see by myself. And that was the craziest energy in a movie theater. The emotions, the outbursts. I don't know. I like KJ said, that whole atmosphere and energy. But then when it's like people were dressed up, they were wearing like the robes, they had their wands. It was like you were there.
Yeah,
Right.
I would say the same. In thinking about it, the last Harry Potter, again, like I was with my sister and nephews and friends, and it was sold out.
Yep.
And people were in their costumes and they had their wands, and like it was electric. And you can't describe that unless you've been through it, you know, before. Segue to music. I had a similar experience. I went to see Elton John in Madison Square Garden. It was, I don't even know how many years, it was like 20 years ago now. And I went with a friend of mine from college who was like an Elton John groupie. He literally followed him around the world. And so we went to see him. Now, you guys, Christy and Sunny, you have not been in Madison Square Garden. Tina, have you been there? So this place is massive, right? It's where the Knicks play and the Rangers play.
Yeah.
So as a concert, imagine Elton John, the place, all of the seats, I don't even know how many people it seats, but it's sold out. There's people on the floor, and because there's, chairs down there, and all of a sudden the lights dim and the energy buzz that is in the air is like unbelievable. And then up on the screens, right? They have screens around, you start seeing pictures of the Lion King, because he opened to playing The Circle of Life.
What?
And so, yeah. And like, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. So you don't see him yet, but the anticipation is coming up and up and up, and everybody's like at the edge of their seats, and everybody's trying to find him on the stage. And all of a sudden he walks on, he sits down at the piano and starts playing. And people were just out of their minds. And of course, when you go see someone like Elton John play, I always think the coolest thing is when everybody in the audience knows the words to your song.
Oh, for
and
sure.
He just keeps playing the piano and everybody's singing. And of course, we all sound like we're in tune, right? And none of us really are. But that buzz kind of takes over. And then his concerts, it is just nonstop. Rocket Man, party, you name it. It's like that intensity stays throughout the show. It's unbelievable. Bette Midler is another performer that I could think that I've seen that does the same thing. I should say I'm not normally a big concert goer. I have this thing where if I hear something like recorded on a CD or a record player, because I think we're all old enough to know records, it's done in a way that I like. All right, well, I'm old enough to know. And I don't like to hear it in a different version. So if like the person doesn't sing it in the same way live, I get mad. Like, no, that's not the way it sounds. So I tend to not go to concerts for that reason. But Bette Midler is phenomenal, and she's still phenomenal. Barry Manilow, I've seen him. He puts on a really good show. He entertains, and so does Bette Midler. Elton John doesn't talk to the audience as much. Barry Manilow and Bette Midler tell funny stories. Bette Midler is a riot. She is an absolute riot. But music just connects the world. I mean,
you totally pulled a line from Barry Manilow right now.
Yeah,
but
he has a song, right?
You and I have a whole Barry Manilow thing in common. We've talked about this before, and I remember messaging you back and going, I didn't know you were a fan of Low. And but yeah, I grew up, and one of the good memories I have about my mother is she loved Barry Manilow, and so did my brother. And so I could remember, man, one of the songs would come on the radio and the entire car would just start singing, and kind of like, none of us knew how to sing, none of us, but we were going down the road, loud as can be, the windows down. And there was something about that. I was going to say, so one of the shows I went to, not a movie, but a live show, was I did get to see Robin Williams before he died. And I could remember I was so excited. I was on pins and needles for days beforehand. I could not wait to get inside. So we were like, and we saw him at Universal Amphitheater. And so there's these lines, we're waiting to get in, and, and I was freaking out. I had my ticket. I knew I had my seat, but I was still like, I got to get in. Like, I was anxiety ridden about the whole thing. So they do the whole thing, and, they basically come on and says, help us welcome, Robin Williams. And the crowd bursts into like a standing ovation. Everybody's clapping and screaming. I'm jumping up and down. I am just like, because he's there. It's Mork, right? Like, he's right there. And it was, and like everybody, like I can remember there were certain jokes that absolutely were so funny, but not a lot of people laughed. And I think it's because it was like they were so stunned that Robin was right there. He was like in touching distance. And and who amongst us hasn't loved Robin Williams? Like, he was a lot of our childhood friend, like, Flubber, all these different things. And so to see him right there, that was huge. I will say Garth Brooks, I used to have the biggest crush on him years ago. And so I went to a few of his shows, but one of them I went to, we had third row center tickets. And my friend Brian and I went, and it was an absolute blast. But the thing about Garth is he talks to his audience. And I think that's such a huge deal, kind of along what you said with Bette Midler. Garth Brooks is really funny and he's really deep. So he's very, like, he's an emotional guy. And so he always says this thing about what it's like to be the person on the stage and to hear your songs basically being sung back to you. And he said it's like such an emotional thing, like it feels like it gets into your soul. And I just think about that, like, to be those people up on that stage and to have that kind of power over all these people, and all you're doing is simply singing the song. There's nothing brilliant about that. But when you put it in the right hands of someone, it becomes extremely powerful, and it changes the entire energy in the room.
I also like, I got to see Billy Joel did this series of, it was just Billy and the piano. And he did a concert at West Point, which isn't far from me. And a friend of mine at the time was a cadet. So he was able to get tickets. And so I think it was like an afternoon with Billy and the piano. And so it was literally just him. And I mean, I probably was so close that I could have like, reached out and like touched him, because you're in the small theater. And the coolest thing about it wasn't necessarily just listening to him. It was listening to the stories behind his music and what he was thinking about when he wrote a song. I think we all have our favorite music, and things that we listen to, but we don't always, we listen to the words and maybe take away the meaning of the song and what it means to us. But we don't always think about, why did this person write it? What inspired them to put this together? And when you get to hear some of that story, it gives you this whole other context. When you hear the song again, you realize, oh, this is what he was talking about, and maybe you might have thought the same thing, and related to it in the same way, but maybe you didn't. And so that's a kind of cool thing. And when you have performers, to me, you have performers and you have singers. The performer does talk to the audience and entertains you, and it's not just song after song after song, where that's like the singer, and some of it I think is comfort level in their personalities, or just how they want to run the show. You figure Bette Midler was a comedian, so she standing in front of an audience is like nothing to her, and Billy Joel is he just likes to talk, so he's just like,
I love Billy.
Me and Billy got a lot in common.
And so to have that chance, that was a pretty amazing concert for me to go see, just to learn, that history behind the music.
KJ, this is going to be a terrible segue. You want to add anything to music before we dive into writing?
No, other than I love it. I play the saxophone, and I'm trying to teach myself how to play I play the alto sax.
Bro,
I do, man.
If you want to send us a clip.
Oh gosh, well, I may have to practice a little bit, but I will try.
Ian wants to play the sax, I think he said, didn't he?
Ian wants to play the sax. He also wants to learn how to play the trumpet.
Ian already looks like Lisa Simpson, so it'll work.
I do have a ukulele too, and I am trying to teach myself how to play that, but that's a little difficult.
I guess you're you, KJ.
Yeah. Is it massive?
It's yes.
So you are a writer.
I am, or I hope to
write. You've written books like Sunny, or?
Yeah, so I had 2 self-published children's books that are out on Amazon. One is called Freddy.
Send in the links for that. Yeah.
Yeah, one is called Freddy the Tiger, and that is about a vegetarian tiger.
Really?
And, yeah, no, I kid you not. That's what it is. And the other one is called Magic Stones. Freddy the Tiger is really geared towards your beginning reader to, like, I want to say third grader. However, the story I think can resonate with everybody because it's about, in short, it's about, you think of a tiger. Do you think of a tiger being a vegetarian named Freddy? Probably not.
No.
So it's about learning how to be yourself. And that's all I'll say about it if you guys want to read it.
Okay.
And then Magic Stones is that is a little bit different. It's for an older reader. I wrote it actually for my nephews. They inspired me. So it's kind of it's a story, it's more mythological. It's more, I wouldn't call it fantasy, but it's kind of like that. It is literally about this mythical boy named Jinxie who collects stones and puts them in a jar, and kids can only see him. And if it, so the story is like, it's hard to explain. It's little stories that are connected by this character named Jinxie. So my nephew Elliot, he kicks the story off. He sees this boy and he gets this jar of magic stones and he learns about their power. And a stone, they sing this magical song that literally came to me in a dream that I woke up and wrote at like 3 a.m. And then so I wouldn't forget it. And then they get this stone and their stone takes them on adventures. And so each chapter you read about each boy's adventure. And when their stone is done, when their time is up, they have to share it with somebody else. So the jar of stones gets passed along from boy to boy to boy. This particular story is all boys because it was based on my nephew's friends who happen to be all male. So there's a story, Elliot is a wizard in his story, and my nephew Nathan, at the time he was 3, he's now 15, but at the time he was 3, and he battles monsters in his room because he was afraid there were monsters in his room at one time. And it just kind of goes on. So each child, you go on their adventure with them, and you learn the lessons that they learn going along. So that is Magic Stones.
Okay, that's awesome.
So those are my children's stories. I am editing my first novel that will hopefully be done at one point before I'm like all gray. It's taken a while, and I did, on Sunny's advice, I did self-publish last spring a collection of my poems.
Yeah, they're great.
I do not consider myself a poet in any shape or form. I write them when they come to mind.
I disagree, KJ.
I don't follow any particular style. I don't follow rules. I know them somewhat, but I don't believe in any of that. I just kind of write whatever comes to mind.
I actually have up on my wall framed one of KJ's poems that she sent me when I was living
Which one?
And it's a picture of a lighthouse. I'll take a picture of it so we can post it if it's okay with KJ. We'll
Yeah.
send it to her first.
Yeah, send me whatever links. That's
Yeah, but yeah, I have it. It's up on my wall. It's been there for a while, but it was with me in Hawaii, and a lot of stuff when I was in Hawaii, I had to toss because it's a lot of shipping to come back. But that was the one thing I was like, no, I'm keeping this because it resonated with me. And so anyway, and KJ's always been really sweet about, KJ and I used to talk a lot more than we do now. But we would get really in depth with stuff too. And so she has been the sweetest friend. She sends me these little boxes, like little tiny care packages. She sends me little notes in the mail, things like that.
I'm gonna like hide now.
Yeah,
no.
KJ is the sweetest friend. I'm so grateful for you.
I agree.
Right back at you.
Are you allowed to say anything about your novel, KJ? Or
About my what?
your novel?
My novel? Oh, it is called Finding Orion. And it's about a female who's like 35. She is an orphan. Her parents, you learn that her parents were killed in a car accident when she was young. So she was kind of living with different foster families growing up. and her best friend also kind of, one parent died, the other one pretty much abandoned him. So they're connected at the hip. They meet when they're young and they're friends all through high school. When you meet her, though, she's kind of at a crossroads in her life. She is living and working in Hoboken. She's not happy in her job. Her friend is an actor and he is very successful, but also extremely private. So their relationship is very interesting in terms of what they mean to one another. The story itself is following her on her journey in terms of where does she go to next, finding family, understanding what friendship means, her relationship with other people. I will tell you, as most people who watch this all know, that we were all brought together by our common fanboy in Ian, Ian Cusick. You know, that guy, sometimes he talks and he plays his ukulele. I don't know.
With the hair, right?
If the hair and the
The
beard.
one who's really proud of his massive uke. You go, yeah.
Yes, that one. And he actually one of the characters in my book is based off of him to a degree. It's him as a person. So when I picture this, he's a professor in the book, I picture Ian. His characteristics, though, his personality, some might be Ian, I really don't know.
Right.
A lot of it is other professors that I had when I was in college, so it's kind of a mixture of different people. But his character, whose name is Ollie in the book, is someone who plays a very important role in Kenzie's life. And I will end it with this: Finding Orion, the title. A friend of mine from college, who was she was killed by a drunk driver about a month after we graduated, used to say that Orion was the only man she could depend on. So we would find the constellation Orion. We were in school in New Hampshire, so there weren't any, lights around. It was pure open sky. So every time, usually in October when Orion comes out, we would go look for him. And that's what she used to say. And so the title of the book comes from her comment, Finding Orion. I won't, however, tell you what Orion means to Kenzie. You'll have to read the book to figure that out.
So I'll read it for sure. KJ.
Well, I have one final question for KJ.
Yes.
And any of you guys feel free to answer as well. Who is your favorite writer?
Favorites. I'm not a good favorite person. I really, really like Michael Connelly. He's the author of the Bosch novels. He also wrote the Lincoln Lawyer series. It is it's more suspense, thriller, psychological. What I really like about the writing, though, is how it's a whole world. If you read all of the books, whether it's the Lincoln Lawyer books or the Bosch books, and he has another character who's a reporter named Jack McAvoy, they connect together. And Bosch is a detective in Hollywood. And it's just, I love the depth of the characters, the history that's there, the story itself in terms of whatever the crime is that they're trying to solve, the relationships that are built, of the characters that are in each story. It's just a full novel to me, and it's fun. They're books that I cannot put down. I'll say, no, only one chapter tonight, and then like 6 chapters later, I'm like, I really need to put this down because I need to go to bed. I'm tired. What am I doing? And then I'll say, no, just one more. I'm like, yeah, okay. I need to close it up. So I really, really like Michael Connelly. I do read Stephen King. I like him. I like his newer stuff more so than his older stuff.
You do?
Yeah. But I read the older stuff too.
I like both.
And then I will try to just read other authors. I Michael Connelly and Stephen King I've probably read the most of. I do like Michael Crichton's stuff as well.
Michael Crichton. Yeah.
He's
You know,
very
and he tends to be a little more technical, so it's harder to get through his stuff. Dan Brown, I've read a lot of his books, because that's, you know, a little more mystery, but it's anthropology and archaeology, which I'm interested in. But mostly I just try to read as much as I can. I try to read different things. I'm not a big nonfiction reader. I don't read memoirs all that much. I've read a few here and there, but for the most part, that's not really my favorite thing. I just want to be immersed and entertained. And I look to writers to help me with my own writing. So whether that's reading a book, whether it's reading fan fiction, you know, it doesn't.
You write fan fiction, KJ?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I have some cabby stuff out there.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
If you want us to, link it.
Yeah. I have one that I haven't finished that I know Sunny really liked, but I probably will not get that done. So I'm probably going to take it down.
Sunny.
I know, her and Kelly, man. But
Sorry.
it's okay. I forget.
But anyway, but writing, just because I know we probably need to wrap up. Writing, I like going to the movies. I truly, truly love to write. I love everything about it. I'm writing all the time in my head, which, you know, sometimes is not good because I should be paying attention to something else. And in reality, I've got, you know, something going on. And the older I get, the more I realize I need to write these things down because I forget them. But I could write all day, every day, and not get tired of it. I just love it. I love everything about it.
Use your phone, record yourself anytime you come up with an idea.
Yeah, I have like little notebooks that I carry with me, and I write stuff
Notebooks is
down.
what I do.
Yeah, I'll be like, and what's worse if I have somebody talking to me, I was like, wait, hold on a minute, I gotta write this down. You know, because I'll have another thought in my head or something, or I'm driving to work, I'm like, and I'm thinking like, oh, that would be a great character name, but I can't write it while I'm driving, so I have to run to my office and write it down, and then I'll talk to people. I was like, wait, hold on a minute, I got to get this down. You know, so I'm writing, you know, writing all the time, all the time. If you see me on a virtual con and I'm like, I might look like I'm listening, and I am, but I have like a notebook right next to me because chances are I'm writing something. I did I think, Sunny, you know this one. I did write a poem for Ian that it was inspired by Ian during the first virtual con that he did, which was the first time I met him. He had commented in the panel about when he was in Atlanta filming for MacGyver, or prior to that, The Passage. And he talked about missing home. And I forgot what he said exactly, but something in that commentary just boom. And so while I was waiting in between the panel and my one-on-one with him, I wrote a poem about home, and it was, you know, inspired by him. So, and I included that in my little poetry book.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I really liked it. I'm like, never mind that it was inspired by him. I really liked the poem. I just like
you pick up motivation from anywhere.
So yeah, so that's writing is my thing. It's probably the thing I love the most. Well, next to my family and my nephews, of course, but and all of you, and all of you.
That's awesome. Yeah, send us all the links. We'll include that. Do you guys have any other questions for KJ?
No, KJ, honestly, I was so excited when Tina got in touch with me and said you were going to be coming on the show, and so happy to have you here. I do apologize for the yawns. I know you guys have seen me. I've been sick. I know there's another one who's been sick, and so we apologize for late today and for yawning on the show. So
yawn away, man. It's part of life. It's all good. Right?
Well,
I can't swallow a yawn. It's like trying to swallow a sneeze. Like and then you make a funny face. Like,
I just gotta say very quickly, when Tyler was little, he didn't know how to cough or sneeze like separately. Like everything was always together. So he'd go. And it was the cutest freaking thing. It was this tiny little thing, and he just so precious. Anyway,
is there anything you want to add after Sunny's Tyler's for?
No, I would say, Christy, it was nice meeting you.
Good meeting you.
And I'm sure we probably have plenty to talk about when it comes to movies, it sounds like.
We do.
And it is a topic I could probably talk a lot about in writing too. I can go on and on and on and on about
KJ,
that.
you come back at any time. Come on.
But mostly, thank you for having me
Yeah.
on your show. I'm excited for you
Anytime. You're
guys
welcome
and what you
back
guys are
anytime.
doing. So.
Oh, and also,
feel good.
KJ, you were one of the first people to support us. You know, like that just means a lot. Like,
Oh.
we really appreciate it.
Well, you got me in your life. You're stuck with me for better or for worse.
I'm keeping you. I ain't taking you out. Yeah.
No.
KJ, you really are amazing. We love you so much.
Well, I love
Great
you
deal
right
of
back.
respect for you.
Thank
All
you.
right. So with that, we are going to wrap it up. So do you want me to close it out, Tina?
Go ahead, Sunshine.
Okay. So thank you, KJ, for being on our show. The Box people. Don't forget to think outside the box. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. We're on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and there's something else. Instagram. We are there. So you guys, thank you. Thank you for today's show. Box people.
Box people out.